All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, learners. Hope you are all well and ready for tonight's stream. We're going to pick up where we left off from last night. That was with module 1.5. So I'm going to get into that and get things started over there. Okay, so as you come in, just let me know, if you can hear me, see me, if everything is okay. I'm going to remove myself from seeing. I'm just going to do that. Yeah, so that should be fine. Okay, right. So we're starting with module 1.5, picking up where we left off yesterday. And we're looking at ICT in perspective. We're still looking at the grade 10 curriculum. Okay, we're going to try and get through all of grade 10 tonight. If not, we'll probably get through the balance of it tomorrow, add grade 11 to that, and then spend the rest of the time with our grade 11 content. Okay, let me just turn that off. Okay. Right. So they talk about types of computers, and we're talking about general purpose computers. So just remember that any computer that does more than one thing, right? And all computers do that. They do more than one thing. They are going to be general purpose computers. And when we talk about that, we're talking about things like desktops, laptops, tablets, notebooks, all of them. They all fall under general purpose computers. And there we can see with our desktop, we've got our screen, our keyboard, our mouse, and our system unit. We don't call it a box. We call it our system unit because it contains everything necessary to run the system. The motherboard, the CPU, the memory, the hard drive, all those things are in there. And then we've got our laptops, tablets, and notebooks that have an all-in-one design with a battery so that we can work from anywhere we need to. Now, it's nice, but it has its disadvantages. As we continue, we've also got smartphones, right? We know this is multi-purpose computing that's built into our telephones, okay? It used to be just a telephone, and then it went on to be a cell phone or a cellular phone that we could communicate with on a mobile basis. And then it became a smartphone when we started integrating a number of different technologies into that one device. We've also got our servers. So remember, server is a very powerful computer. What does it do? It's the main computer on a network. It provides resources and services to computers connected on that network. So when you're in a computer lab and you're accessing files from the server is the main computer that provides that service. Okay, that's why it's called a server. Main computer, large, powerful, and provides services to people on the network or computers on the network. Then we have dedicated devices. So a dedicated device is a device that performs one function. So it's specific to one particular function. If you go to an ATM and all you can do is withdraw at that ATM, that's only one function that you can do. An MP3 player, a GPS device, the ABS braking on your car, okay, your ATM machines, and some household appliances, if they can only do one thing or perform one particular type of function, then it is a dedicated device. Anything other than that, the minute it does more than that, it becomes a general purpose device. Okay, so sticking with ICT, what is ICT? Well, ICT stands for Information, Communication, Technology. Okay, that is what ICT is. That is what it is when we talk about that. So they might, for the grade 10s, ask you, what is it? Ask you to explain it a little bit. That is what you are going to look at. Okay, so with ICT, we're asking, why do we need information? Well, information is power, and it creates the potential for wealth. People make decisions based on information. So ICTs play a massive role in our lives and affect our everyday lives. I mean, when we think of just driving down the road, our shops, the robots, the traffic lights that are in the road, those things are all part of ICT. You go into a shop, you can swipe, you can go to a machine that can see to your coffee and things. You go and pay. The cashier scans things. So you've got all these different options and all these different things that are happening all around us, with us each and every day. And most of us just take it for granted that this is how it is. Okay. So when we look at the ICT systems, there we can see again our information processing cycle. I'm not going to go through that again. We have been through that. Remember our input, processing, output, and then we've got our storage and communication. Okay. So they mentioned to us that ICT, well, an ICT system is a combination of hardware, software, data, processes, and people. So think of going to the shop. Think of the fact that you're going to go and buy some goods. You go to the till, it gets scanned, you pay for it, you leave. What is there? There is hardware, the scanning devices. There is software, the programs that actually make that possible. Data as to how much that those particular products cost. There are certain processes put in place, and there are people that are managing all of this. So your ICT system is all of that together, with the goal of collecting, processing, storing, retrieving, and communicating data and information. Okay, that is the whole goal of ICT systems. So there they give us a couple of examples of ICT systems in everyday life, and we can see that over there. We can see that we've got our computer system, our cell phone system, and our point of sale system, where we go and obviously pay for goods that we've purchased in a shop. That is a point of sale. Right, then we move on to ethical use of computers, ways in which ICT can be used to act unethically. Now, when we talk about the ethical way to use computers, we're talking about the moral way of, correctly using our computers. So they're going to talk about a couple of ways of using it unethically. Things like theft, that could be identity theft, data theft, computer crime, it could be piracy, spreading false information, creating malicious or what we call harmful software like viruses, trojans, worms. Okay. Now, while these things don't seem so bad, they still are. Okay. There it mentions to us, well, you cannot see or touch things that you are stealing. But guys, when you steal somebody's identity, you can cause a massive amount of information of problems for that particular individual. People have had their identity stolen and then found that they are married to somebody else further down the line. Spreading false information, I mean, that can just damage people's reputation and their lives depending on what you are actually spreading. And then we know the effects of viruses and worms. They can damage computer systems, and actually damage the data that's on them. Okay, so yes, nobody physically gets hurt and things like that, but there are different types of or different ways in which you can hurt people without even physically touching them. Okay, then move on to module 1.6, our extended software concept. So we're going back into software, and we spoke about integrated software. Now, first of all, software is a program that performs a specific task. So when we talk about integrated software, we're talking about a few programs that are actually built into one piece of software. So some of the advantages are things like you'd have separate packages that have a similar interface. So what they're saying here is when you look at Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, you buy it as one package, as an integrated software package. And when you install that and you have a look at all of this, what do you find? Your ribbon at the top of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, you find that they all look similar. And the idea is to help you actually navigate through these programs easier. Separate packages are designed to share and exchange data. So even though you have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access as separate pieces of software, they are designed to share and exchange data between one another. This is why you can import a file into Word. You can import a spreadsheet file into Microsoft Access. Okay, it allows for that. And the biggest advantage is it is sold as a suite of programs. In other words, sold as one piece of software, and you're just making one purchase. So imagine having to pay 1,000 Rand for Word, 1,000 Rand for Excel, same for Access, same for PowerPoint. That's going to cost you 4,000 Rand. But when you buy a piece of integrated software, what's going to happen is you getting all of that as one program, and you're probably paying like half the price for that. So it is a lot cheaper to obviously go that way, and that's why they've done it like that. Okay, there we've got our example, and you can see with Microsoft Office, it's not just Word, Excel, and PowerPoint and Access. You've got Microsoft Outlook, which is your email. You've got Publisher. You've got OneNote as well. You've got all those things in one place. All right, then a very important one, our license agreements. Let me just switch this off. Our license agreements. And there you can see your Microsoft software license terms. Well, what is a license agreement? These are legally binding contracts between you as the user of the software and the software company. These agreements are known as end user license agreements. Okay, this is very important because they'll ask you what an EULA is and what it's there for. So, the EULA, your end user license agreement, what is it? It's a legally binding contract between you and the software company as to how you are going to use that piece of software. There's an example you can see. Part of the contract says here, licensed device, you may install and use one copy of the software on the licensed device. So this is like you buy an Office and then you install it, and the license agreement says, well, you've bought this for yourself, so you may install it on your one PC, and you may have another copy of it as a backup. But that's it. You're not actually allowed to legally go and take this and distribute it to friends and install it on other people's laptops. Yeah, I know some of you do that. Don't do that. Okay, the day you do eventually get caught or they do something about it, yeah, it's just not going to go well. Okay, then software piracy, something that is familiar to many of you. That is the illegal installation, copying, and distribution of proprietary software. Now, when we talk about proprietary software, what am I saying? Well, it's software that people pay for. Sorry. It's software that people pay for. So what you're doing is essentially, instead of going to do that, you'll go and download it, somewhere. And then you'll actually copy that and give it to your friends and allow them to use it as well, when it's supposed to be a paid for piece of software. Most software, they say, now requires activating or registering online in an attempt to crack down on software piracy. So I know the latest Microsoft Office, what they do is they allow you to install it, use it for about 2 weeks, and then they ask you to put in the activation code, which must be done online. Okay. Software piracy is a crime and can result in hefty fines or even jail time. Now, having said that, think about your school. Your school might have 100 computers, might even have 50 computers. And if each one of them needs a license, then it can become very costly for the school to actually have this operating. So you get two things, one called a single user license and the other called a site license. So let's look at the single user license. Well, the single user license means that you may install one copy of the software and you may have a backup copy. Now that's fine. Okay. But when you have 50 to 100 computers, a single user license is going to be too expensive. So what they've come up with is what's known as a site license. Now, when we talk about your site, we're talking about one geographical area. So your school as a whole, that will be one site. So you buying one license to have unrestricted numbers of installations done on that site, like within that company, within that organization. It is more expensive than a single license, but it is cheaper than buying a single copy for every computer. Okay. So if it's just you at home, single user license, what you buy over the counter, at these stores like Game and Macro and them, it's fine. Any computer shop, that's fine. But the minute you're going to go, 10, 15, 50, 100 computers, it is cheaper to go with a site license. Okay. It's also referred to as volume licensing. So don't get confused if you see any one of the terms. All right, then we have two terms, freeware and shareware. Now, before I even show that, when we hear ware at the end, this WARE, remember that stands for software. So it's a program. So when we talk about freeware, we're talking about a free program, a program that is free to download, free to use, free to distribute. Okay, no restrictions on it. Shareware is free to download, free to use, but for a trial period only. So a limited time. If you want the full version, you have to go and pay for it. Okay. This is a good way for people to try out the software and see if it's actually for them, if it's something that they're willing to pay for. But other than that, once the trial period is over, it actually will stop working. Okay. Then we also get open source software. So open source software, as you will remember, is software that may be freely used, modified. That's your key term there. Remember we said with freeware, free to download, use, distribute, all these things. Same with open source software, but open source software allows you to actually modify the actual program, okay, which freeware and shareware does not allow you to do. And you can't sell it, okay, or you shouldn't be selling it because it's absolutely free. So some examples of things like your Linux operating system, your Office suite like Open Office, your Java programming, all of these are examples of open source software. So now to explain it and to give an example. Okay, now with that, there are a couple of disadvantages, or the fact that there's no guarantee of the quality. Okay, because this is just software that's sitting out there on the internet. Nobody's really moderating it, checking it and seeing, okay, has it been updated? No, that all rests on you. So there's no guarantee of the quality. There may be different versions available. You can generally only get it from the internet, and it's not as widely used. Also, there's not a lot of documentation and support for these pieces of software. Right, continuing, we have a number of terms here that come up regularly. Copyright refers to the legal right to make copies, publish, and sell. Okay, so you've got the legal right. If you want to use somebody else's music in, let's say, a YouTube video, and you've got that, then if you pay the royalties, you are fine. But if you do not, then and this is what they mean when they say you've infringed on the copyright, or you get like a copyright strike on YouTube because you're using music. I'm just using that as an example. That is actually somebody else's. They've got the copyright to that, so they allowed to make copies and sell it and things, but not you. Intellectual property. This is a broader concept. It recognizes the ownership of the person that came up with the original idea. So something like, let's say, a particular type of webcam. All right. That person might have had a brilliant idea as to how this new sort of webcam should work. And because that person came up with the idea around it, they actually have the intellectual property. In fact, there was a case like this with a guy who created here in South Africa the Please Call Me. Right. He came up with the idea, so that became his intellectual property. And then you've got Creative Commons, which is non-profit organizations that promote the sharing and free use of knowledge and products legally. Okay, not illegally, legally. Right, then we have our utility programs. Remember we said these utility programs are built into Windows. They are there to give us some added features to help us work with the whole environment as well. An example would be compression software like WinZip, that makes the file smaller. Guys, one thing you must understand is that it does not interfere with the contents of the file. So here you can see introduction to the book was 1 meg in size, but when it is zipped, it's half that size. It hasn't interfered with the content. It doesn't corrupt it. Okay. It just makes it smaller. Generally, they use this when it comes to sending emails or just wanting to make those sizes a bit smaller. We also have backup utilities. Now we know what a backup is. A backup is when we are making a copy of our data that can be stored on another source, right? So another storage device, preferably like an external hard drive or somewhere else, because files get deleted, files become corrupt, and that's why we use or implement backup strategies. Then another one that gets asked very regularly is with regards to drivers. So you need to understand it like this. Windows has plug and play built in. Okay, so I take my printer, bought a new printer, pop in the cable into the printer, and then I pop it into the actual PC. When I do this, the plug and play picks up that, hey, there's something that's been plugged in, seems like it's a printer, not sure which model, but it tells Windows that that's what's there. The driver then becomes that piece of software that tells Windows how to work with that piece of hardware. Okay, so there they tell us a driver is software, so it's a program that allows your computer to communicate with the hardware or devices. So the fact that you can just take a USB flash drive and plug it in, plug and play picks it up, but the driver actually tells Windows exactly what it is and how to work with it. Okay, hope you're still with me. We are now on module 1.7. Okay, please, like I said, feel free to leave me a question if you have any comment, anything like that, as we go along. Okay, so now we're looking at input and output devices. We should go through this fairly quickly because we have spoken about a lot of these things before, like the mouse. No real need to go into that. We know what the mouse does. We know input devices give instructions to the PC. So our mouse, a pen input, our trackball. Okay, these are all things that allow us to give instructions to the PC. Okay, there we see we've got first question about adware. Is adware harmful? Yes, adware is harmful. It's harmful in a very irritating way. Okay, if I can put it that way, because what adware does is when this is loaded onto your PC, the minute you connect to the internet, you have ads that begin to pop up on your screen. So it becomes almost impossible to even navigate through the internet because you're just having ads pop up all the time. So in that way, it takes over your PC, it uses your resources, and through that, it can become harmful. In some cases, people, have to have their PCs wiped and things like that, simply because they can't do anything on them because of that adware. But again, having a good antivirus system that's updated and scanning your PC regularly will help. Okay, thank you for that. Right, so there's some gestures again when it comes to our touch screens. Guys, we know all of this. Okay, these are things we're just touching on again. What's important here are the different sensors we have in our touch screen devices. This is probably the most common one. The fact that I can take my phone and turn it onto its side and then the picture turns as well. We think it's just an auto rotate business, but it is actually called, or that sensor is called, the accelerometer. This detects the movement. It changes the orientation of the screen. It allows you to use it as a game controller. So this is the most popular one that does get asked. Obviously, you've got your temperature sensor, your light sensor, your GPS, your compass, all those type of things. But of these, the one that gets asked the most, because people get it wrong more often than anything else, is the accelerometer. Yes, Nathan. Yes, definitely. Look, AVG has got a very good reputation. They've been around for a long time. It is a piece of software that a lot of people use because it's free. But just make sure you are, making or having it updated regularly. I know a lot of people don't like paying for software, um, but it is important because if you don't stay updated, I mean, even if you have AVG, if you're not updating it regularly and scanning your PC, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month, then there's no point to actually having it. Okay, so we've got our joystick, game controller, guys. We know all of this. Probably a lot of gamers out there as well. Our digital cameras. Now, I just want to share one thing. I wonder if it's in here. No, I don't see it's in here. There's a difference between a point and shoot camera and a camera like the one you've seen over here, which is our more advanced cameras. Your point and shoot are those cheaper digital cameras that you can't really like set all these other things that you can like with a professional DSLR camera. It's really just your normal digital camera. You're taking it, you point, you shoot. You can maybe zoom in and out, maybe one or two little features, but that's about it. So that's our point and shoot camera. This is our more advanced digital camera. This usually falls like in the bracket with other DSLR cameras and things like that. Okay. We've also got scanners. These are also input devices. We know we scan our pages from a physical form to a digital form. Right? It means we can take large amounts of documents and turn it into digital documents. And then we've got our QR codes, which we are familiar with as well. We have quick access to whatever you've stored in the QR code, because the QR code is actually programmable. Okay, so we've got another question here. What input devices are suitable for disabled people? Okay, So the first thing I want to just touch on is when you read the question, when they start talking about disabled people, they're going to use um, a few different terms. So they might say the person is visually impaired or the person is blind. Okay. I wear glasses, I wear spectacles. So I'm visually impaired. I need to wear my specs in order to see on the screen. Am I blind? No, I'm not. I am not blind. Okay. I'm visually impaired. So if I'm visually impaired and I need to give instructions to the PC, but the eyesight isn't 100%, I could use a larger keyboard. I could use a larger screen or have the magnifier, um, actually open up on the screen so that I can see clearer. I can adjust the brightness. I can do all those things to help me, right, see better. Remember, there's something wrong with my visuals, right? My sight. There's nothing wrong with me typing. There's nothing wrong with me using the mouse. But you can use, and I want to actually go back to it. Some people use devices like this, like your joysticks. Let me go back to this, like the trackball as well. So the person might have problems with their motor functions, and a trackball is going to be better for them um, instead of a normal mouse. Okay, your joystick. Some people use that as well. I think there are actually a couple of slides on that. Others use motion control, moving your head. Others use verbal instructions. So there are a number of ways that you can give the PC instructions. Okay. Then we've got our scanners. Okay, we've spoken about this, about our barcode scanner. That barcode contains information like the price, where this particular product is located, and it updates the stock records as well. So the benefits of these kind of devices are speed and accuracy. Okay, we know about biometrics. This is where your biometric scanner will measure something biologically. So this is when you see the guys on TV, on these movies, they're scanning in their hand, or they're scanning in the eye, or your iris, or they're giving a voice command. All of those fall under biometric inputs. And then we have our card input as well, where our bank card, now we just tap because all the information is stored magnetically in our bank cards. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, video. As we know about audio coming out. This is important. Voice recognition software. So voice recognition software uses our microphone, and this is where we are speaking to the PC, right, via a microphone, and the PC will actually then perform whatever we are telling it to. So you might open up Word, Microsoft Word, and then you start speaking, and Dragon, naturally speaking, will actually type out what you are saying. Now, bear in mind, these programs, many of them are created in the US. So you need to change your accent slightly so that it's more of an American accent. Okay. Because with our accent, our South African accent, and we have many of them in the country, it's gonna it's gonna mess up the program a bit. But over time, the program does learn your particular way of speaking, and it does get better over time. So you can use something like that as well. Our audio output, okay, we know about that, where sound is coming back out at us through our speakers. Okay, our data projectors, we are connecting our PC so that we get output from the projector onto a screen. So whatever's on our normal screen will display against the wall or on the bigger screen. We have multifunction printers, which simply means that you have a printer that can do more than just print. It can print, scan, fax, photocopy, all of these things in one. Okay. What's important here is not so much the size over here, but this term optical drive. They will ask you, like, if you have the specs of a PC, identify the optical drive within this listing. You're looking now to see where is optical drive. And what you don't realize is optical drive is simply a drive, like they say, that uses laser light to read from or write to optical discs. So your CD, your DVD, your Blu-ray, those are all optical discs because they need a laser to read the information of that disc. So your CD drive, your CD writer, your DVD writer, your Blu-ray player, those are all optical drives because they have a laser in them that reads from an optical disc. Okay. Memory cards, we are fairly familiar with memory cards and what they can do. All right, we've got SD memory cards, we've got memory sticks, and our compact flash as well. There you can see them over there. You can see there is a difference between your little SD card that goes into your phone and your compact flash that ends up going usually into your camera devices or your DSLR cameras and that. And your memory stick is just your USB flash drive. Okay. Right. So there we've got our computer work area. Looks fairly decent. Everything seems okay. But you do want to keep magnetic sources away from your computer. You want to keep your computer dust free. You want to keep the area well ventilated. Guys, you don't want to drink liquids near the computer. I know some of you do this. I know that sometimes I'm guilty of it myself. But generally, we don't want to do that. And you also don't want to eat over your keyboard. Okay. You mess on that stuff, it's very difficult to get that clean. There's exactly what we were talking about, the optical storage. Remember, we said when we talk about storage media, we're talking about what we are writing to. Okay. Our media in this case would be that CD. And we know the problem with CDs, it gets scratched, it can get damaged, dust, all of that type of thing. So you just want to handle it carefully. Okay. Then on the processing side, we have our motherboard. So there we've got our massive motherboard. It just looks a lot bigger than what it actually is. And our CPU goes over here. We've got our memory slots over here. We've got a PCI slot over here where we can put in something extra, maybe an extra graphics card or something like that. Here we've got our sound card. We've got 4 USB ports. Will this be assist now final on Friday? Look, I'm not sure if all of this is coming in, but I'm just running through everything from grade 10 all the way through so that you've done as much revision as possible. Because I know the grade 10s, 11s, and 12s are writing this week. So yeah, difficult to say if it's going to come in, but to be very honest with you, seeing as it's the end of the year, they'll probably bring in a few elements from each term. So just be prepared for that. Okay, then we've got our CPU. We know what our CPU stands for. It's our central processing unit. It plugs into the motherboard. So that socket over there on the motherboard, it plugs into that. The CPU speed is measured in gigahertz. Okay, important to know. But the working part of the CPU there in the middle over there is actually a very small piece of silicon containing billions of electronic circuits. Okay, so that's what our CPU is. But if they ask you, what does the CPU do? Well, it performs all the mathematical instructions needed for your PC to operate. Okay, then we've got our random access memory. We know the difference between our RAM and ROM. Main things is that your RAM holds instructions for the CPU, right? Your CPU keeps all the data and instructions it's working on. RAM is volatile. RAM is fast. It's expensive. And it's one of the simplest methods of upgrading your PC, or one of the simplest methods of improving your PC's performance. ROM, read-only memory. This is relatively small. It's a special chip that holds the instructions needed to start the computer and load the operating system. So when you switch your PC on, it is ROM that starts to work. Okay? ROM starts to work. ROM checks the hardware. It gives that beep, beep. Then you know everything's okay. Checks the hard drive, sees where the operating system is, and then it does its work with loading the operating system. All right, let's see. The grade 12, November 2020 paper, question 4, 4.1.6. Why is a VGA port not needed on a notebook computer? Okay, guys, I know I'm jumping between questions in this, but that's fine. I would say for that, the reason why it's not needed on a notebook is because generally today we're finding that the projectors A lot of the TV, well, TVs and monitors and that all use your HDMI connectors. So because your VGA port is starting to slowly phase out and it's becoming a sort of an older technology, um, most of them will now have simply HDMI ports. Another reason can be the fact that with your VGA ports and your VGA cables, those pins that are in the cable, those pins can get damaged and do get damaged regularly, and then it can actually cause a problem in your PC. Okay, so getting back to that, thank you for that. All right, so a ROM is relatively small. It's non-volatile, which means the instructions stay there whether the PC is switched off 20 times or not. Right? Okay, let me just go back to this. Whereas RAM is volatile. So all of these instructions that are sitting in RAM, when the PC gets switched off, it gets wiped clean. Right, module 1.8. How ICTs influence our lives and lifestyles. We know it influences things like jobs, where we store and watch, where we store photos and watch videos, how we entertain ourselves, where we shop, all of those things. ICT plays a massive role in all of these areas. It influences how we communicate, via instant messaging, blogging, emailing, all of these things. But the only problem is we never really switch off. Why? Because we are permanently connected, if I can put it that way. So, access to information. Now, we know these days with the internet, there's a vast amount of information, but we need to be able to find things quickly, determine if it's reliable, analyze and summarize it. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that because this is exactly what you had to do when it came to your pets. Okay, you had to go and find information, check everything, see if it's reliable, if it's accurate, if you can use it, and then decide if it's going to fit into your pet. And we've got a number of different sources from which we get information these days. It influences leisure as well, what we watch, internet TV, we do online travel bookings. Guys, yeah, all of this. It influences all of these things. Even when it comes to your PC, saving money there, right? The fact that we can now type and edit documents, keep track of accounts, communicate with clients, all these type of things. So all of this is just showing you that ICT has an impact everywhere, whether it's on leisure, whether it's a home office, whether it's in education here, as you can see as well. ICT just has a massive impact. And this is what this module is really just focusing on. I mean, think of your school and how much ICT infrastructure and devices are actually there. Okay, even teachers are moving that way with the data projectors, electronic whiteboards, etc. Okay, you guys have too much access to these things. Okay, this is where the important bit comes in. Identity thieves. Now, why do people want to try and steal your identity? Number one, they want to gain access to whether it's secret documents, in the case of companies, whether it's valuable information, or even just your money, right? Some people want to use that identity to apply for, credit cards and loans and things like that using your name and your details. Okay, so they get the money, you get the bill. Then to spread false information. All right, we've seen how many times people's Facebook accounts have been hacked, and then people are commenting, or that same hacked account is now commenting on other people's statuses and stuff, and people are thinking it's someone that they know, but it's actually just a whole fake and false account. And others want to do it in order to commit a crime. Okay, so we have scammers and phishers. Now, how do they try to steal your money? Well, phishing, they try to bait you, right? They try to bait you by trying to get your banking details. So they will tell you, you know what, you've won something, or we just need to verify your details. Please click on the link, enter your banking details, just to confirm everything. And then you already know that that is a problem. There are fake websites, because now that phishing will take you to a fake website where you go and pop in your information, and then you find, oh no, it's been a total scam. Okay, because nothing's happening. You can even get fake virus alarms. If somebody hacks into your PC, then they make as if you've got some virus on your PC, and then you've got to pay these guys to actually have that taken off. And then the big one is the bogus lottery winnings or investment opportunities or pyramid schemes. Um, you get messages that say, "Oh, you've won this in the lotto, so many 100 million," but you never entered. They tell you you've got a family member that's overseas that died and left you half of the world, um, but nobody knows that person. Okay. Yeah, ish, Nathan. No, man. I remember getting catfished. Oh my word. So sorry to hear that. Ouch. Okay. But this is what these people are doing. Okay. And they do it every single day. Okay. Right. So computer criminals, employees. Whoa, how does an employee fit into this? Because an employee has the easiest access to the computer, to the sensitive information, to computer time. All of these things can be stolen by employees. Some employees even getting mad if they are, let's say, going to be retrenched, or they're going to lose their job, or they've done something wrong and they want to, exact some sort of revenge on the company, and so they get access to this information and do something bad with it. Then we have this term hackers and crackers. Now this is important to know the difference. A hacker breaks through a computer security system or breaks through a computer system just for the recognition, what we call the white hat. Okay, because he or she wants to be known that they've cracked through the South African government's website. Okay, just something simple like that. A cracker does exactly the same thing, but with the intention of committing a crime. That's why they'll call them the black hats. So the white hats are the ones that just do it for the recognition. The black hats do that because they want to do some sort of a crime. Okay, they want to do something harmful. So they mentioned there at the bottom, did you know that companies that specialize in computer security sometimes hire hackers to work for them? It's happened so many times. I know there was a big company in South Africa that was hacked a number of years ago, and they found the guy and they actually employed that person as their head of IT security. So, yeah, not saying that's going to happen to you. So please don't go and do that. But that is what happens. Okay. Organized computer crime. Exactly what are these syndicates involved in? These guys run spam businesses. This is where all these messages and emails come from. They want to steal secrets. They specialize sometimes in copying and selling CDs and DVDs illegally. Because think about it, the guy who's standing on the corner selling all of these DVD movies, somebody had to copy it. Somebody had to get it. Somebody had to make the covers for it. Put all of those things together. Okay. So you've got a whole group of people, what we call a syndicate around this, and you can use computers to forge documents as well. Okay, sad but true. All right, let's just see where we are time wise. We're almost at 1:45. Okay, we can still get away with this. All right. So, what is a network? Now, guys, please, you need to get this correct. Okay, when you when we define a network, it's going to be three things. Number one, it's going to be two or more, like they mentioned here, two or more. And I won't say computers, I'd say computing devices. So you don't even have to say computers or mobile devices. You can just say when two or more computing devices are connected to each other through some sort of media for the purpose of sharing information. So if you are connecting your phone to your laptop, how many devices do you have? You've got two. How are they connected? Through a cable? Possibly. Bluetooth? Possibly. Right? Could be over Wi Fi. So they're connected through some sort of media. And then why are you connecting the two? You're connecting it to share information, transfer photos, transfer video, right? Whatever you want to do. But that's the definition of a network, and it doesn't change as we move to the bigger networks. The fundamentals of what a network is, that definition sticks with you all the way. Okay. So a local area network, what is it? It is a network, same like we just had, but a network that's in one geographical area. So a network at your school, just for your school, that is a local area network. What does that do? Two or more computing devices connected through some sort of media for the purpose of sharing information. Now, a global network like your internet is a collection of these networks all around the world. How are they connected? Through some sort of media. Some of you would have heard about the undersea cables that they are busy upgrading, right? I think it runs out from Durban all the way through to some of the other continents. But there's a physical piece of media that connects us. Okay. Some of the advantages of networks, you don't have to know all of this stuff, but just at least two of them. It helps us with fast, efficient communication, things like um, instant messaging, WhatsApp, all of this, guys, we know this. We can share hardware, which means a computer lab only needs one printer because it can share that printer among a number of computers. Okay. So it's going to cut down on costs as well. There's the sharing of files. Okay. Yeah, they tell us files on a server can be accessed by multiple learners and teachers can retrieve those learners' files from the same server. Okay. You just think of things like Dropbox, things like OneDrive. There's the centralization of data, where you've got all the data in one place on that one server. Okay, this is what the network allows us to do. When you're booking tickets online, because of that, no two people can book the same seat in a theater because once one is booked, when I go in and I want to book that same seat, because all that data is in one place, it'll pick up that no, that seat has already been taken. I won't be able to get that particular seat. There's flexible access. We know some networks are wireless, some networks have cables with them, so we're not limited, especially when it's wireless, to where we can connect from. And again, just a number of different things. Remember, don't just think of a network as like your local school network. The internet itself is one massive network as well. Okay, so they just show us there a couple of different items. Leisure, again, these are just all the advantages, guys. You only need to know probably two, maybe three of these advantages. Okay, increase control and security as well, because people will now have usernames and passwords to log on to the PCs to be able to access that information. Some disadvantages: some people need to learn how to work with a network. They need to learn how to use usernames, passwords, change those things. They need to learn how to communicate via the new technology as well. Networks are expensive to set up and maintain. Confidential information can be stolen if somebody gets in. Harmful software, especially your worms, spread very quickly over a network because a worm will replicate itself and it will run through the entire network. And trust me, I've had that happen before. It's not fun to get that sorted out. If a network develops a problem, for example, the server goes down, everybody connected to that will go down as well. Okay, so those are just some of the advantages. Again, you need only know probably about two of those. Okay, so let's go into network basics. So we spoke now about what a network is, and a local area network, a global area network, but then we have a personal area network. So a personal area network is a network organized around an individual or a few individuals with a range of a few meters. So like in the picture there, that guy sitting with his tablet, his laptop, he's probably got his phone, all of those things connected together around the individual. That is your personal area network. So the main purpose is to automate connections between devices. And a disadvantage is obviously, like they mentioned here, the range of only a few meters. The data transmission, in other words, moving files and videos and things, can be a bit slow. And your peripheral devices, which are external devices to your computer, usually only pair with one device at a time. So if you've got a laptop that's got Bluetooth, you might not be able to Bluetooth or connect your phone via Bluetooth and a set of headphones via Bluetooth. It might only deal with one at a time. Then you've got your home area network. So your home area network is now bigger than that. It's a small network within a home environment. That's the key. That connects devices such as computers, printers, tablets. So this is you having a Wi-Fi zone throughout your house. Okay. And people connect to that to go into the internet, to print and all these things. That is a home area network. Now, why do we use this? Well, because users can access and share their data from any device in the home. They can save money by sharing devices such as a printer, and an internet connection can be shared as well. But that can be a problem sometimes. Okay, especially when somebody's trying to stream 4K. Yeah, it just kills that network completely. Okay, that bandwidth as well. All right, so security can be an issue with wireless networks. And the biggest security problem is that people don't have a password on it. I hope some of you are not guilty of that, where you go to the back of your house or close to your neighbor's wall because they've got Wi-Fi and they don't have a password on it, and you are able to connect. Yeah, it's called bandwidth theft. Okay, so yeah, you can address that using passwords. Okay, then when it comes to setting up small networks, and this is important to know, you need hardware, things like a switch for bigger networks, or a router, like your wireless router at home. That's some of the physical devices that you will need. But it's I like that. I like that one. Yeah, but it's their fault. Yeah, well, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to leave that there. Connection methods, we can connect wirelessly or with cables, right? So every computing device, again, if you've got a router at home with wireless, again, you're going to connect wirelessly. Okay, there's that lovely symbol that we all like to see. But in our computers and in our laptops, this is what a network card actually looks like. So that allows us to plug in a physical cable and connect our PC or laptop to a network. Okay, for your pen, Bluetooth is the most common means of connecting, but it's not the only one. Okay, we know that. Right. There they just show us again with our little network at home. So, for example, what I'm sitting with now, I've got a router in the TV room. My boys and my wife are sitting connected, via Wi-Fi. Connected their phones via Wi-Fi, and this laptop that I've got running here is connected via a physical cable. Okay. So with your wired, you've got a cable called your UTP cable, your unshielded twisted pair. All that means is that inside that cable, there are twisted pairs of, normal cabling, and it hasn't got a shield around it. That's why it's called unshielded twisted pair. Your wireless connection, you need a Wi-Fi access point or some sort of router, and then obviously devices that would connect to that. Okay, so that's just setting up your small networks. Just remember, what is Wi-Fi? It's a wireless network technology that uses radio waves to provide network access. Okay. Right. Then we also need some software. And the software is used to control and communicate in the network. A lot of this, guys, you don't see because it's built into your phones, it's built into your laptops, it's built into your computers. It's already there. And the software, together with that hardware, is what allows you to connect to these Wi Fi zones and to networks as well. And then connecting to the internet. What is the internet? First of all, it is the large worldwide computer network, exactly what we said, consisting of computers and networks linked using communication media. What did we say a network is? Two or more computers connected through some sort of media for the purpose of sharing information. What do we do on the internet? We share info. What is the internet? A large worldwide computer network. Is it linked using some sort of media? Yes, it is. Okay, so you can see PAN, HAN, LAN, WAN, all the way up to the internet, they all work on exactly the same principle. Just important that every device that connects to the internet must have its own IP address. That IP address is like your home address. Um, that is your specific address in Port Elizabeth or in South Africa. And in the same way, when you connect to the internet, each and every person has a specific address on the internet, right? So to connect a device to the internet, you need an internet service provider. In other words, this is a company that allows you access to the internet. You actually rent when you have your internet that you pay for on a monthly basis. You are renting the capability to go onto the internet. You are renting bandwidth from them. When you go and buy airtime, who are you buying airtime and data from? You're buying data from Vodacom. So Vodacom becomes, for example, your ISP, okay, on your phone. They provide you that service. You need an internet connection as well. So I've already mentioned now exactly what an ISP is, a company that has a permanent fast connection to the internet. And you basically, for a fee, getting your piece of that as well. Okay, our internet connection, we know we have wired. And just as a matter of interest, this week I received an email from MWeb saying that they are phasing out ADSL. So within the next couple of months, a lot of big companies are going to start phasing out ADSL as fiber has taken over. So just understand ADSL and fiber are physical cables, right? But fiber, your data is transmitted using thin glass fiber tubes, and this makes it much, much faster. Your wireless, well, we know what wireless is. Some of us connect 3G and 4G via our phones. Some of you have wireless access at home, where you have a little satellite dish on your roof that gets you the access, connects to your router, and then provides Wi-Fi for the rest of the house. And you do get little dongles as well. You get small Wi-Fi, little like small routers as well, that allows you mobile access to the internet as well. Okay, and then I think the last one is our World Wide Web. The only things I really wanted to touch on here is, what is www? This is a vast collection of hyperlinked interactive documents called web pages. Okay, so this is just telling you the difference between a web page and a website. Okay, your web page is a collection of related documents, our interactive documents, hyperlinked things. So all of that together, that creates what we know as a web page. A website is when we group a number of those pages that are related. Okay, obviously they have to be the same, guys. You can't have, if you go to, let's say, Facebook, for example, you scroll through Facebook and suddenly it changes from Facebook to Gumtree to Instagram to something else and then back. It's got to be related web pages that come together, or that are stored together, and they become your website. So just know the difference between those two, right? Your web page and your website. So they mentioned about the structure of a website. You don't have to know too much about this. This is important. Your uniform resource locator, or that long address on top. Okay, you need to know what that is actually saying. So www is a service that runs on the internet. And in this case, where's that service taking you to? It's taking you to the site named Study Opportunities. What type of website is that? Well, it's an organization. It's telling you what type of organization. It's telling you it's a company. Where is it located? .co.za. The ZA indicates it's located in South Africa. Facebook.com, commercial website. CIA.gov, government website. Okay. Here's Games Domain. That's a company located in the UK. So it's important to know this breakdown. There you can see they do have a couple, but again, guys, this is all in your textbook. You can go and have a look through that. It's just always weird how South Africa is always the odd one out. I mean, we should be like .rsa or well, we can't be .sa. Saudi Arabia has that. But then we come along with .za, Zuid Afrika. That's what it actually stands for. So yeah. Okay, we mentioned about the IP address, having an IP address on the internet, but you don't navigate through the internet using an IP address. Through something called DNS, it changes that into a name. So when I type in www.google.co.za, it's actually taking me to the website that's located at that address. Okay, this is all things that happen in the background that we don't even realize is there. Then we have web portals. Right, this is the starting point for searching on the web. It provides links to different subjects. So if you go to News 24, it'll give you a whole lot of info, plus a search bar where you can go and search for information. Right, MSN, Yahoo, all of them do that as well. You even have government web portals. Then you have informational websites, things like your government website, just a website providing you with a lot of information. You have wikis, and this is why you can't trust everything that comes from Wikipedia, people, because a wiki is a website that allows people to collaborate when it comes to putting information on there. So if I want to, I can go and type out a document and I can actually publish it to Wikipedia, because the whole idea is everybody putting information together. And obviously, I've now got to verify that information before I use it. Access to these wikis are free. We've got web applications, which are programs that you can only access by connecting to the internet. So Gmail, only through the internet. Google Calendar, again, only through the internet. Then we've got our content aggregator. Okay, this is a website or application that gathers different web content like news, weather, and movie reviews from different online sources. Obviously, you would then say which source it must take information from. So you've got two main types. The first one gathers info from various sources and displays it on its own website. Okay, like if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it'll have reviews from different sites under a particular movie. The second type gathers the information from a variety of sources and distributes it according to the subscriber needs. So if you went to Flipboard or Feedly, you would subscribe to that and indicate what information you actually want to have sent to you. Okay. Another big one, a web browser. Please remember, web browser is a program. It is a program that allows you to view and explore web pages on the web. Okay, so Google Chrome. Don't say Google is a web browser. It's not. Google is a search engine. Google Chrome is a web browser. Mozilla Firefox is a web browser. Okay, all of these over here. Your search engine is a program that is used to search for documents on the internet used or by using keywords or phrases. Google, Yahoo, Bing are all examples of search engines. Okay, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there for this evening. I'm just making a note of that we're going to start on 2.4 tomorrow. I think it's just one or two modules from grade 10, and then we will be moving into grade 11. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that'll be grade 11. Please don't forget to come with your questions. Invite folks to come along and just share in us revising everything as we hit the grade 10, 11s, and 12 exam. So, folks, thank you so much for being with me this evening. Glad to have you all. Nathan. Let me think about it. Let me see what I can do. Let me actually see. Just want to see if it's only that one. Let me just go through this. 2.4, 2.5. Just want to see. I almost think, yeah. Okay. I tell you what. Okay, what I'll do is I'm going to finish these modules that I have here so that the grade 10 work is done. Okay? Is that okay? Um, 802.11, that applies to your wireless standards. Okay? I think I've actually got it in one of the slides here. Your 802.11, that indicates that the connection method is wireless. The B, G, and N relates to the speed of that wireless. I know G is for your 10 megabits per second and N is for your 50 megabits per second. Okay. Right. I'm going to check on the B. Okay. So e-communication, guys, we know what e-communication is. It's with us just working with or communicating through the medium of an electronic form. So an electronic form of communicating. So that's WhatsApp, that's email, all of these things. You're going to find a lot of this is going to start repeating itself now. So we've got web-based email and ISP-based mail. So we already said an ISP is what? An internet service provider. They provide us access to the internet. So let's say, for example, it's MWeb. So not only does MWeb give us access to the internet, but they also give us their own email account. When you subscribe to them, you get your very own email from them. But that email is sitting on their server. It's an ISP-based mail, which means ideally you would actually have like Microsoft Outlook on your computer and you would download your mail there. A web-based email is one where you are accessing your mail via a web browser like Gmail. You have an access to it. It's free of charge. You don't pay anything for it. ISP-based mail, you do pay for that. Very important, your email address. It's important to know how to break this down. So many of us don't take note of this, but when you look at an email address, the first part is the username of the person. The @MWeb is the service provider. We know .co is our type of organization and .za is the geographical location. So there you can see username, who's providing the account or where this username is at. The username is sitting at MWeb. What is MWeb? It's a company based in South Africa. Okay. That whole section there is your domain. So it's Mary Jones, this username sitting at this domain. Okay. Social networking sites, not even going to touch on that because you guys know too much about that. Blogs, just know what a blog is. A blog is an online diary. It is an online journal, okay, where you can share anything from personal things to, business information, anything you want to do over there. Netiquette, very important word to know. So netiquette is how to conduct yourself on the internet, right? How to conduct yourself, how to use good manners and show respect when using the internet. We all want to do that. So a guide is to think before you post. Would I be happy if this were placed on a public post? Think of some of the things you post on Facebook and on social media and some of the messages you send. Would you be happy if that was blown up like A3 size and put outside your school? Would you be happy for your parents or teachers to see it? Is this the kind of information that reflects who I am? Would I be happy for a prospective employer to see my site? Okay. Just bear in mind that companies these days do go and look at your Facebook profile and your Instagram and things like that to see if what they are seeing in the interview is who you really are. Okay. If you get an email, just know your message must be clear and error free. When you send an email, you don't send messages in capital letters or emails in capital letters. You want to make sure files are virus free. You don't want to be sending insulting messages. Understand this. Your messages never disappear. Even if you delete it off your phone, it's saved on the server sitting with the internet service provider. Okay. Just to give you a typical example, I don't know if you know the Oscar Pistorius case from a number of years back, the guy that had the blades for legs, those carbon fiber blades for legs. When he went through his case of having shot his girlfriend, things like that, the police actually went to his internet service provider and retrieved 5 years worth of emails and messages, right? SMSs, WhatsApps, all of those things. So just bear that in mind. You don't want to use emoticons when you're dealing with formal things. You only want to do it when you're dealing with informal conversation. Okay. Then our safe internet use. I think this is the last one. Our viruses. We know now our viruses are programs. That's why we call it software. What does it do? It disrupts the normal functioning of a computer. That is the purpose of a virus. It's usually loaded onto the computer without the person knowing. It's designed to create or exploit security loopholes. Nathan, your search history. Let's just say be careful of what you are searching. Okay, try to reproduce and spread to other computers. No, they will probably have a list of the sites that you did go to. They won't be able to see what you did at that site, but I mean, if the site's name is not great, then you'll have to deal with that. Okay, do not attack hardware, but the software manages to control the hardware. So this is what a virus ends up doing. Okay, so how does a virus spread? It can spread via email attachments, things that you download off the internet, even websites that you go to, files that are shared, and you don't just take anybody's flash drive and plug it into your PC. Scan it, check it before you even want to use it. If you've got another device that you can plug it into and check it first. But I've had too many people come to me with flash drives that have viruses, so I don't take them at all. Okay. Most viruses activate when you run or open the infected file. So how do I know if I've got one? Well, the files will suddenly start disappearing. The computer begins to slow down. The programs don't work properly anymore. Suddenly, a lot of free space that you had begins to get reduced greatly. You get a lot of error messages coming up. You have general problems that you sort of didn't have before, but it's just like one thing after the other. And your antivirus, if you have it and it's updated, it'll tell you, listen, something is not right. I'm picking up something here. What do you want me to do with it? Okay. Obviously, our virus prevention, we want to use antivirus software. And like I've mentioned before, you do want to keep it updated and scan your PC regularly. Again, you can prevent it by scanning everything that you're going to be putting into your PC, having an antivirus software, because a lot of that antivirus software scans your emails even before your emails are open to make sure that it's okay, right? Some of the ISPs scan your emails as well before it even comes through to you. Okay, that's all fine. Yeah, your computer worms. That's this falls under malware. Okay, your viruses as well. Malware stands for malicious software, which means it's harmful software. So a computer worm is malware or harmful. It's a harmful program. What does it do? It's able to distribute itself over a network, normally via email, without a person running an infected program. So a worm will pick up that it's on a network, and it will begin to move itself through that network, but not just move, but it actually makes copies of itself over that network. And there it says it can reproduce itself many, many times, causing devastating effects. Why? Because there's so many of them, it ends up making the PCs run very slow and even crash. Again, having antivirus software will help. Okay, then we have Trojans. Now, Trojans, again, malicious software, destructive programs, but it's disguised as something useful. Okay, so it might seem like legitimate software, but then it begins to delete files on your computer. Okay, or it'll scan for personal information and send it to the person who wrote or created the Trojan. And this will only happen when you are connected to the internet. So when you see things like this, your .exes, these are executable programs, and it looks like something decent, and you double click on it, it actually activates that Trojan virus. So if you don't know where it's coming from, just delete it. Then we've got spam, right? Spam is like your junk mail. These are email adverts sent to you that you did not request. That's all you have to write down for that. Okay. You can get tons of spam from different places, and you think, where did these people get my email address from? But yeah, they get hold of it. Okay. So these are email ads that you did not request, right? That's been sent to you. So some prevention tips for spam. They want you to be careful who you give your email address to. Your ISPs by default have spam filters, so they cut it out before it even gets to you if it picks up that it's spam. And you can even see what your particular email program has to also filter all of those things out. So if it picks up that this is some sort of ad or something like that, it'll just get rid of it automatically. Okay. Then we have hoaxes and scams. Your internet hoax is an email, message, or article intended to deceive or defraud others. So they tell you you've won a holiday, you've inherited money from a relative you never had, those sort of things. That is an internet hoax. Okay. How do you protect yourself? Well, guys, don't trust everything. Don't accept information at face value. Check the source of the information. Okay. If you don't know where it's from or who it's coming from or anything like that, just delete it. Get rid of it. Phishing is a little different. Phishing is where they are conning the user into giving out personal and confidential details, such as PIN numbers and passwords, by posing as a legitimate organization. So, might be the bank saying to you, man, we need you, as I mentioned earlier. Just go in, pop in your details, click confirm so that we can confirm that this is actually your username and password. And then when you do that, it doesn't do anything, but it's sending that info to the person who sent you that link in the first place. Okay. We don't want to respond to email requests and to confirm details such as bank account numbers and PINs. You want to take note of the URL. You also want to see that there's a landline number on that email. You want to check if the site is secure. If it doesn't have an S, there you can see there's a little lock, HTTPS. That's indicating that it's a secure site. There's not going to be a bank out there, people, who does not have a secure website. Okay, so if you don't see that, there's already problems. Farming is when the user is directed to a fake website, even though it looks absolutely official. The criminal is able to use any data that the users enter, which are usually things like passwords and PINs. So again, guys, you want to use software like anti-spyware. You get this malware bytes. That's also good. Your normal antivirus software. All of these things help you to just steer clear of this and to stay safe when it comes to phishing and farming. Then we have email spoofing. This is the changing of an email header so that the email appears to come from a different source. Can you see how all of these different methods are being used together? So I'll get an email, and email spoofing will be implemented in that the header that's coming with that looks official. All of those things. I'm directed to a different site through farming. Phishing is telling me I need to enter this. So they use all of these different techniques to get your info. Okay. Then we've got some general guidelines for internet safety. You want to keep your system up to date, your antivirus up to date. I mentioned these things. Don't just click on links or pop-ups. Be careful when opening attachments, and just have some good password policies. Other than that, it's not anything major that we need to know here. Just with your passwords, please, your passwords should be at least 8 characters. They should consist of letters, numbers, and symbols. That is a good password, but I know none of you will remember that. Okay? But that's what your password should be. Okay. I think that's... Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, well then that's it. We've completed the entire grade 10 curriculum. We've gone through all of that. So yes, folks, thank you for that. That's been, we're going on to like almost an hour and 20 minutes. But thank you very much. That is now grade 10, the grade 10 curriculum done. We've revised on that entire curriculum. Now we are going to focus from tomorrow on grade 11. And we'll see if we've got time, maybe Thursday, to just squeeze in a little bit of the grade 12 curriculum, or just take your grade 12 questions as well. Okay. Thank you very much for your patience. Thanks for being here. And I will see you tomorrow evening.